Richard Dawkins, the famous atheist, tweeted out something quite disgusting. He tweeted out, "Dern tootin', great shootin', cool dude certain, he's Second Amendment right. Hell yeah." And he spells rights R-A-H-T-S because it's supposed to be in a southern accent. "Every country has its psychopaths. In U.S., they have guns." Okay, well, in Britain, they've been murdering people. You know, they've had multiple terror attacks, including in Manchester, using weapons and bombs. And, you know, this idea that it's only in the United States we have to worry about this stuff is just not true. But Richard Dawkins could use a little bit of God because apparently he lost his tact and his decency when he lost his God. There are a few problems with jumping to conclusions here. One, again, we still do not know the shooter's motive. This happened last night. We still have no inkling of the shooter's motive. How the shooter acquired his weapons, we still don't know. So suggesting laws that we don't know would stop this guy from acquiring the weapon in the first place is always troublesome. Now, to be intellectually honest, I want to say you can propose a good law that doesn't necessarily deal with this specific situation, right? It's not like every law has to deal with the specific situation at hand. If it reduces the probability of a situation like this, or if it doesn't even have to do with this situation, but it's going to make things safer generally, right? You can pass a seatbelt law that has nothing to do with a mass shooting. The seatbelt law can still be good, but it's dishonest to suggest that using a situation like this to push a law that wouldn't have stopped a situation like this, the two things are related because they're not, right? If you use this to push a child safety law about cribs, that's obviously unrelated. Well, if you use this incident to pass a law or push a policy that has nothing to do with this particular shooting, again, unrelated is unrelated. And then there's a final point, and this is something that we all fall into, whether on the right and on the left. When something bad happens, we immediately jump to what could the government have done? What should the government have done? Making policy in the heat of passion is not a good way to make policy. It's why we don't have a democracy. It's why we have a republic. It was to shield policymaking from the passions of the public. It was to shield policymaking from the problems inherent in getting very emotional and passionate about situations. You know, the fact is that policy is best made when we're at a bit of a remove. Injecting emotional accusations into the process does not make things better. It just makes things more polarized.
Desire to kill people, erratic behavior, and disturbing social media posts, as well as the potential of him conducting a school shooting. What happened? Nothing. It was ignored. It was not even forwarded to the field office. So when we talk about the government is big enough to save us, the government's big enough to protect us, there are thousands and thousands of people in this country right now who are felons, who have guns, and the government knows about them and is doing nothing. There are thousands of people who are in the mental health rolls, and they have guns, and the government is doing nothing about them. And you're telling me that a mass gun confiscation is the way that you're going to take care of this? Or that if we have a march in the streets, that somehow this is going to accomplish the end of this? One of the ways that we could actually militate against this, there are two ways that I would propose, maybe three, that would actually I can actually name, I think, maybe four things that we could do that would militate against all of this. So first thing that we could do is the media should stop naming shooters and providing glory to the shooters. When we do this stuff, all we end up doing is promoting this. These are copycat crimes. A huge number of the school shooters are fans of Columbine, have downloaded information about Columbine, become obsessed with school shootings, and want to imitate it so they can get their name in the papers. The media should have an agreement all the way through, and we're going to start implementing this at Daily Wire now. I do it on my show, that we're not going to name the shooter. That is something that I think everyone should work on in the media. That's something that we can do firsthand. Second thing, we should have massive security at the schools. This idiotic notion that there is a school-to-prison pipeline is not backed by data. That if you have a bunch of armed guards in the schools, then kids are being arrested for silly crimes and then being sent to prison. It's just not true. The data do not support that. We have a whole article by Hank Berrien over at the Daily Wire about this. You can go and check that out. It is not the case. Other things that we can do. The mental health screenings that are already taking place. There needs to be more transparency. All of this information needs to be transmitted to local law authorities. It all needs to be put in the databases. People need to be fired or lose their jobs or lose their careers if they do not enter information that is relevant. And then something terrible happens. Because I promise you, for every school shooting that happens like this where the FBI missed it, there are 100 other instances where the FBI missed it, but there was no school shooting. If this happened once, this happened